Let's talk about a very specific kind of procrastination. This isn't the lazy, distracted, I'll do it tomorrow kind. No, this is something quieter, way more complex. And honestly, if you're a high performer, it's probably going to sound incredibly familiar. Okay, just picture this with me. It's Monday morning. That alarm just went off.
You're awake, but you don't actually move. You're just there, lying in bed.
And then, almost like it has a mind of its own, your phone is in your hand. The day hasn't even properly begun, but you're already plugged in.
Now hold on. This isn't because you're lazy. It's not about avoiding the day. Something totally different is going on here.
It's because your mind is already sprinting. It's running through the to-do list, the emails, the conversations. It's like a full-speed mental dress rehearsal before you've even had a sip of coffee.
And this leads us to what we can call the busy, empty morning. It's this state that feels incredibly productive on the inside, but, well, it produces absolutely nothing on the outside.
So by the time you've showered and gotten dressed, you feel mentally drained, like you've already put in a solid hour of hard work. You've already planned out that critical email 5 different ways in your head. The problem, the real problem, nothing is actually done. That document is still a blank page. And this really highlights a huge distinction we need to make. Typical procrastination, that's about avoiding work, maybe feeling lazy. But the kind we're talking about today is a different beast entirely. It's not about avoiding the work, it's about overthinking it. And it doesn't come from a lack of ability. Ironically, it comes from seeing too many abilities, too many possibilities, all at once.
This brings us right to the heart of the issue. This trap where the act of thinking itself becomes a stand-in for actually doing.
It's a totally fair question, right? I mean, if you haven't moved a muscle or typed a word, why does your brain feel like it just ran a marathon? Well, the answer is in this really powerful thing our brains do. It's called mental simulation. Your brain is basically a supercomputer running a complex simulation of the task. It's exploring every angle, every possible outcome, every consequence. And this simulation feels so real, so detailed, that your brain actually flags it as progress. It feels like work, and because of that, it completely replaces the physical action of, doing the work. You see, your brain doesn't just see a simple task like write the report. Oh no, it sees this whole web of branching possibilities, potential outcomes, all the little risks and edge cases, the long-term consequences, and then, layered right on top of all of that, are your own ridiculously high standards. It's no wonder starting feels so heavy. In all of this mental gymnastics, it builds and builds until it becomes the real problem, this deep, internal resistance to just starting. Come on, we've all said it. I work better under pressure. It feels true, doesn't it? It sounds like a strategic choice. But more often than not, it's just a really good story we tell ourselves to justify a resistance that's happening on a much, much deeper level. So let's break down how this resistance actually builds up. First, there's anticipation. That's when the mental simulation kicks into high gear. This quickly spirals into overanalysis, where your brain just gets completely bogged down in all the what-ifs. Then comes the most important step, resistance. This is your subconscious mind screaming, don't commit, don't risk being imperfect, don't let them measure you. And the final predictable result? Delay. You postpone the task, because as long as you haven't started, your potential is still perfect. It's pure, and it's untouched by messy reality. And this whole pattern isn't a one-time thing. It creates this powerful, self-reinforcing, and totally draining loop, the pressure and exhaustion cycle. Okay, let's trace this vicious cycle. First, your delay creates pressure as the deadline gets closer and closer. Then, that pressure is the only thing that can force you to act, because it finally shuts down all the overthinking. But here's the catch. Because the action only happens when you're stressed out, your brain learns to connect doing the work with feeling anxiety. So to avoid that feeling in the future, what does your brain do? You guessed it. It delays again until the pressure is unavoidable. And around we go. And the cost of being stuck in this cycle is something called mental residue. This is the real killer. This is what separates this from just being lazy. See, you're not just putting a task aside and forgetting it. Nope, you are carrying its weight, all its unresolved complexity, with you all day long. It's like this constant, low-grade hum of stress that just drains your mental energy and leaves you feeling exhausted without having accomplished a single thing. So where does this all leave us? Well, it's a huge irony, really. You end up trapped by the very thing that makes you so capable in the first place, your own mind. Now, it's so important to get this straight. Your brain isn't broken. It's not malfunctioning. It's actually trying to do its job. It's trying to protect your self-image.
By delaying, it keeps your identity as a competent, smart person safe from the messy reality of actually doing something that might not be perfect.
But, and this is the hard truth, that protection becomes a cage. And here's the toughest pill to swallow. Your intelligence doesn't get you out of this trap. In fact, it makes the trap more convincing. Why? Because you are brilliant at coming up with really smart, logical, nuanced reasons for the delay. You can literally think your way deeper and deeper into the hole.
Which all boils down to one critical, stark realization. You can understand this whole process perfectly. You can see the cycle, name the resistance, recognize it in yourself, but insight alone isn't movement. It's the starting block, not the finish line.
And so you're left with that constant, nagging feeling that you're almost ready. Just a little more time, a little more research, a little more thought, and then you'll be ready. But what if the goal isn't to finally feel perfectly ready? Maybe the way out of the trap isn't more thinking. Maybe it's a different kind of doing. It's about trading that fantasy of a perfect start for the simple reality of one small imperfect step. Because that feeling of almost, that's not a sign to wait. That's the signal that it's time to begin. Anyway,